Hey, g'day everybody, it's Jack here from Full Alt. A quick little update on the actual proposal itself. As you've been made aware, we put in a proposal which is literally a presentation to the community. We respect the community in full and we wish to give as much detail as possible. Likewise, in that process of having a proposal approved, we've taken a business approach, and sure, there's a lot of communications going on with potential voters on the proposal. Some wish to say whales, but not necessarily just whales. The thing is, we need to fill everybody in with what's going on and what's expected from us, because with every type of business proposal, with any type of business venture, any type of venture at all, there needs to be a give and take. It's a two-way street of communication. What's happening right now is there have been some suggestions thrown our way, which are logical suggestions. I mean, there's been a lot of talk. It doesn't, just like with anything, everybody has opinions. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I fully support that personally. I also believe in backing anything that's said with facts. So one of the most logical conclusions was that some of the people out there who do have influential stake, which is what DPOS is all about, have suggested to us that we should take an approach where we review the actual, not just the labor cost, not the labor cost as far as hourly rates and so on, but to actually have a calendar in place, a working calendar. And I'll just word it that way to make it absolutely clear to everybody, which defines exact holidays in the country of residence / citizenship of the actual coder himself, so that there's no mistakes there. Likewise, to also help define, get more definitive on some of the numbers. Now, I know that we have to round off up and down on the actual DHF proposal, which is fine. That's understandable. But there's nothing stopping us from putting in exact figures here. As you can see, 150. So we already have done that in a way. So that's pretty easy. That's fairly straightforward. Somebody may take, for example, Christmas, New Year's off, and so fine. That's 15 days of holidays, where maybe 2 hours of within those 2-3 weeks is dedicated to just checking up and replying to things. Now that puts added pressure onto the incidentals, but again, that's a normal thing in this process. When I've already just mentioned incidentals, we've also been recommended, I won't say told, it has been recommended to us that we're going to cutting corners. And when I say cutting corners, that doesn't mean cutting corners in the quality of work or the scope of work. What that means is adding options. So the scope of work remains the same. The project is the same. The scope of work is the same. However, due to the nature of the DHF and due to the nature of this project being a 2-year project, the funding that's being approved now, it's being hinted that that funding should be more precise. And in the event that in the future, during the course of the next 2 years, things do change, i.e. the value of the dollar drops, prices of certain services jump up. We don't know. We don't have a crystal ball in front of us. Then at that point, we approach those same people and we discuss it, and we see, should we modify the existing proposal if it's still alive? If not, the option to add a new proposal to cover those differences. So basically what's being stated is it's just a change in approach to the actual funding model. So it's actually very logical and it's a lot more precise. If we have a very precise working calendar, which is absolutely acceptable and fine by all standards, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I fully support that. We all fully support that, in fact. Even though our dev has stated that he doesn't take holidays, he takes days off every now and then, but he doesn't take holidays in the classic sense. But he's going to take holidays now. But but I did make note to him that if he decides to take holidays, that's not a problem. We've got plenty of work for him to do, which is not related to HiveTips, and we can just, pay him for that. Not a problem, out of, for the full old budget that we have for our business, which is not for HiveTips. If he wants to work, sure, there's plenty of work out there. But all jokes aside, that's, like I said, that's basic. That's fairly simple. As far as the incidentals goes, we're going to have to go down to all of these platforms and other platforms that we have listed, check out their potential costs with the APIs that they have, the APIs that they have, and so on, running costs for these platforms. Also, we may have to incorporate a potential, depending on the usage of these platforms and the usage of the server, we may have to increase the server, but I don't see that happening in the first couple of years, although it is possible. So it's a possibility, but I don't think we need to incorporate that as a must. When I talk about usage, if you go to hiveblocks.com at HiveTips.pool, you'll see that, you'll see the current usage of, of the actual tipping. It's happening every day. So it's not like it's just, okay, today's, it's all on the blockchain. You're more than welcome to check it out. So it's not like it's anything unusual that usage goes up and down, and depending on the usage on a certain platform, they might come back to us and say, hey, we need you to start paying for the API, which is fine. That's absolutely normal business. We've, like I said, we have divided everything up by phases and so on. We've put in milestones here based on 6 monthly quarters within that 2-year period. I'm sure that we can accommodate to these suggestions in a way that doesn't put the project at risk and also adds the needed options in accordance with this new funding breakdown, so that in the event that something does drastically change somewhere, fingers crossed it doesn't, we are covered. It also means that Full Alt may have to, which is absolutely normal part of business, may have to, again, out of our own pockets, pitch in and until a proposal is approved. An additional proposal is approved. So I'm just making sure that everybody's in the loop with what's going on behind the scenes as far as discussions and conversations. And again, this may be one of, I won't say it's the first, but it's one of the very few out there as far as the actual proposals on the DHF where there has been this type of discussion. And this is great because this proposal itself puts everybody into a position of responsibility. Us as the people who are putting the proposal forwards, and also people who are voting on the proposal, because the proposal will have to be tracked. I mean, everybody has their own opinion, what, who, how, when, and where. At the same time, that's fantastic. So we're opening up new arenas of thought, whole new segments of responsibility out there, which have always existed. They've just not been emphasized as much. So I see a lot of positivity coming out of all of this discussion, and I can see things that may have to be discussed, or I actually honestly believe they shall be discussed, such as adding the option to put a financial cap on a proposal, because a proposal may be up for example, 2 years, but it might not need funding as per the current funding model daily so much. No, there's a funding cap on that proposal. And again, that means that those people that are voting need to track it, and those people who have put the proposal in need to make sure that those who are voting are informed in a timely manner so that there is no potential abuse or misunderstanding until we can get a cap put in. That is the process that needs to be used. I also like the fact that we are touching on all the aspects of smart contracts here in real life. This is a real proposal, it's alive, and in real practice right now. So we've got something that's happening, that's live, that touches on every single aspect of a smart contract, quotation marks, where there's absolutely, it's trustless, which means a smart contract would have to be trustless. And we're literally touching on all these topics right here, right now. And that's an excellent example, a real life example, a real life experience now that's in front of us in reference to what can and should and probably shall be done in the future. So there's a lot to be learned from this, and it's all positive, regardless of what certain people may think. Either way, opinions are opinions, but these are the facts. This is an excellent opportunity to put in practice something that will teach us through actual real life events of what is needed from us on Hive to be able to introduce smart contracts in the future for the DHF and other things, of course, as well. So I like it. I actually do like it. I can't really complain. Now, as far as this is what I wanted to touch on. There was talk about the actual template that we used. We're not changing the template of the actual proposal. It covers everything. It's a business template. It's very straightforward. It doesn't go into the extra. It's not like a bank loan where you have to add 10,000 documents, additional documents. But with every business proposal, when approaching potential investors, you need to supply the justification for it and the relevant documentation that is appropriate for the actual project itself. So we're sticking to this template here. And this template has a cherry on top with these topics that were brought up in this post. So we're sticking to what was recommended, and we've proven that it works, that it goes into the detail that is needed to be able to respect the community as the potential investors. I like it. It's raising the bar as far as communication, as far as presentation, as far as transparency, as far as the flow of information. So kudos, well done to the two individuals, not to name them, who put those posts in, but they're in our post, in our proposal. You can check them out yourselves. But yeah, so that's definitely something that I have to admit is, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, an excellent approach towards proposals. I will touch on one more thing before then what I actually okay. Does HiveTips plan on going mobile? Okay, we have plans to create a mobile version of HiveTips, but such an option for Android and iOS takes a fair bit of coding and testing prior to release. These options are covered in the proposal figure. So that's a question that's been put forward to us numerous times. We have answered it, but again, I wish to stress it here, just again, so that I know that I'll be asked that same question again. We all will be asked that same question again, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And will the community be able to contribute to the actual platform / website decision-making process, what websites to, so on and so on? Yes, we want to include the community in helping decide which order of priority before stating a definitive out to tackle. We know that with input from the thousands of current active Hive users, we can choose the best paths to take. It's there. The answers are there. And here we go to the topic which is, in my opinion, somewhat not as easy to tackle. Oops, sorry. That is reviewing the advertising plan. Now, you all saw in the actual proposal a list of the websites that we contacted, which are all crypto and so on. So we're going to a target market to begin with, which is the logical approach, right? And let the networking effect expand from there. All of these sites were contacted. So we now have been asked to review this advertising plan and see if we can, well, the basic goal is to reduce the cost, which is okay, fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We just have to do it in a way that doesn't affect the overall outreach. Now, when I say that, I mean we've gone to the trouble of not only contacting these websites, but also looking into their outreach, looking at the stats. So we have to repeat that whole process again. It's not a case of just delete. No. We need to ensure that we're covering each continent, that we're getting the viewers that are most likely to accept and utilize Hive via HiveTips. We're also making sure that we get the most for the dollar that's invested into this. So cutting this figure, although it might sound easy in theory, just copy, paste, delete or whatever, nope. There's a lot of coordination, communications and negotiations, because if you look through these pricing offers here, many of these offers are bulk offers, meaning we get much more for the dollar that's invested. Again, the pricing here is at the middle to low range in comparison to some of these websites that dually have very high pricing, in our opinion, well above and beyond what we would expect to invest in a campaign for HiveTips/Hive at this stage. However, what we will aim to do is to cover the same people from all over the world in a way that, again, is as per not only the recommendations, but also based on the stats that we have and the information that we have about all these websites and the outreach that they do have, so that, again, we get the most for the dollar, no matter what this dollar figure may end up being. One of the goals will be to make sure that we do approach not only all the continents, but also the maximum number of people that are realistically out there and willing and able to use and utilize Hive via HiveTips. And once they're on Hive, they're on Hive. That's really what it boils down to. It's a process. Everything is a process. So to give you a rough guesstimate, and I don't wish to give an exact day or date, I've mentioned 7 to 10 days. I'm going to give us a bit of a leeway there and say 7 to 15 days max. So from 7 to 15 days maximum, but realistically, in my personal opinion, 7 to 10 days, because not all emails are answered. Then include the weekend in that. Then reply to those emails and see what we can knock the price down, and so on and so on. It's just a process. It's a to and fro process of communication. It doesn't happen overnight. And again, we don't need to contact all these sites this time. We need to more so review what we can get the most out of the best that we chose for the given advertising plan. Now, the option for the difference will be listed, and that will definitely be a separate proposal for the future, let's say in the second year or even in the latter half of the second year, to see if the community agrees that we continue with this, or should that funding be used to promote something that includes HiveTips as well, or whatever. It's an option. So I really like the idea of reviewing what we have right now in a proactive and constructive manner, and that to me shows that there's a lot of positive thinking out there, long-term thinking, people that see the future. And I'm just going to put it this way. In my mind, the goal is to ensure that Hive can be utilized on more websites / more platforms out there than what Bitcoin can currently be utilized on. That is something that is constantly buzzing in my head, because to tokenize the internet, it's a step-by-step process. And in that process, we need to get Hive out there. We need to make sure that it's not only known of, but also utilized, and that it has use cases. I can see this opening up a floodgate of opportunities to everybody out there, all the devs, all the coders, all the companies, all the potential investors. There's a lot of potential there, which is implied, which was a word used by one of the people that we're discussing this with, and I see a lot of potential there as well in the long run, well beyond the first 2 years, and that's just amazing. Think of it this way. When somebody says HiveTips is used on Gmail, on YouTube, on Twitter, those names are well respected. So we've already got a certain renommee there, which follows the fact that we've been able to do our best to accommodate to their needs and to their terms and conditions, and to make sure that we are complementing them, not using them, but so that we are complementing them on their platforms, right? And that's a very important thing. That's extremely important. Expect to see a update to the proposal in the next 7 to 15 days, which won't change, like I said, the scope of work. It won't change anything that's been defined. It doesn't change the actual obligations. It doesn't change the actual potential costs or the realistic costs. What it does add to the proposal is funding options, which could be done in two different ways. One is to actually modify the existing proposal in future, if it's still alive. If not, to add or to activate a new proposal for those and link it to the actual proposal here itself, so that it's very crystal clear and transparent what it's about and where the money is being utilized. Because like I said, none of us have a crystal ball, and we need to do our best to accommodate to not only the wishes, but logical, constructive suggestions such as the one that was put forwards to us. And I love it. I love it. I love the talk. I love the discussion. I love the fact that we're thinking long-term, proactive, and that we're thinking out of the box as far as potential solutions go. And I can see a real bright future for Hive with this type of communication going on between some individuals who have put these types of suggestions forwards and who believe in the future of Hive and the fact that we can tokenize the whole internet utilizing our fast and free, that's our superpower, fast and free, along with other things. Appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. And we'll give you an update when we do that. Till then, tip away and Hive is alive. Out.